Chapter 6 Techniques box. Manipulative experiments. One of the nice things about intertidal marine environments is that they lend themselves very nicely to manipulative ecological field experiments. What this series of photographs shows are a range of different types of devices that are used to either exclude predators from access to the intertidal area, or inclusion devices where predators are contained within a specific area, but the density of those predators is manipulated. Let's look first at the image in the top left. So these are exclusion cages designed to keep a flatfish, the flounder, out of areas of the seabed. And we can also see in this photograph posts which are stuck into the sediment, which also mark out the control plots where there are no cages, but nevertheless enable us to go back and resample in the same areas over a period of time. Now, flounders, when they feed in the intertidal, leave feeding traces in the mud, and that's what we see in the image directly below. So you can see impressions in the mud where the flounders have been taking a bite out of the sediment. So we know whether our exclusion cages are effective at keeping flounders out, but we also can see whether flounders continue to feed in our control plots as well. Now, in the image on the top right hand side, these are inclusion cages, and here these have been used to understand how manipulating the density of a predatory fish, gobies, can influence the wider marine intertidal community. So what's been done here is cages have been put on the intertidal mudflat, and different densities of gobies have been restricted within those cages, so we can do a nicely controlled manipulation. And again, you can see posts in the mud that are marking out where the control plots are. In addition to those two treatments, i.e. the cage treatments and the post treatments, ideally one would also have what are known as procedural controls, where you put basically most of the cage structure on a plot, but perhaps you remove the netting so that there's free passage of animals underneath the apparatus. This is to account for any artifact effects associated with having a cage, which may restrict current flow passing over the intertidal and could have effects in its own right. So this is known as a procedural control. And then in the middle panel, we've got a smaller cage, this time a cage that's designed to retain small crustacean predators like small shore crabs, for example. And what you see, in addition to the netting, you've also got hard sides to the cage. So this cage has not been pushed into its position yet. So as it's pushed into the mud, the solid sides also sink into the mud, and they prevent animals from burrowing down into the mud and escaping from your cage treatment. So only the netting remains protruding above the mud, allowing passage of water, oxygenated water, into that caged area. We can also devise exclusion devices to exclude wading birds, and you can tell whether those have worked from the traces of wader footprints, for example, on the mudflat, which is what we see in the bottom right corner.